Hi, it's Jackie Othen here. Today's Real Estate Real Talk is for landlords. If you're a landlord watching this, I'm speaking to you right now because we're at a really vulnerable period in the city right now in Toronto. It's the middle of November and we are facing what's been months and months of picked over inventory for leases, especially in downtown Toronto, meaning there's a very high inventory sitting for the first time in decades, I'm going to say, and there are lots of applicants coming knocking at the door, not all of them really good candidates. So I want to give you a couple of tips that I stand behind, that I stand firm on, and with uncompromising attention to detail, that it's really, really important not to bend on these, especially in these difficult and challenging times. First tip. Credit reports, they're more important than ever. You want to make sure that the credit report and the credit rating of the person applying to live in your investment and in your property, whether it's a condo or a house, is AAA. So we're looking for scores of 700, hopefully 715 or above in terms of Beacon score. There's two credit reporting agencies that we use here often. One's Equifax and one's TransUnion. As a responsible landlord or real estate sales representative who's guiding your client, it's your obligation to go through the report piece by piece to make sure that the information that is on the report is good and accurate. We're looking for no past bankruptcies if that's possible. We're looking for no credit counseling. We're looking for no defaults, no arrears, no over the limit. Yes, it's painful to go through this and it's time consuming, but better you know that the person can afford to make your rent obligations on time every month instead of not. So take the time to review the credit and don't be shy to decline someone because you're not satisfied with the credit. That's one of your rights. You're able to say no if you're not happy with the credit reporting that's put in front of you from your applicant. The second really important tip, and a lot of people really mess this one up, so important. When someone is standing in front of you as an applicant, it's critical to go through the application. You won't believe how many times we actually help other clients get out of really lousy situations where we help dig things up that weren't reviewed before. When a rental application is collected by you, the landlord or your agent, make sure that you go through it very thoroughly. Call the references on there. Ask for information on how they were as a paying tenant, how they lived in terms of noise above them. Were they disruptive? Did they have a barky dog? Did they have a barky cat? Did they keep their place in tidy order? Was it easy for you to show once they decided to give you their notice? And overall, did they perform like a cooperative tenant? Those are the things I'm looking for. To be AAA, I want the all-around package, and I'd rather leave my property empty and vacant than just put anybody in my unit. And we have to be cautious of that right now with the market difficult like it is, and with the days on market growing, it's really easy to want to take the first person that shows up at the door. So I'm reminding you, it's your obligation, it's your responsibility to make sure that you do your due diligence and find yourself some great tenants to save yourself some pain later. The other tip I can give you is don't be shy to ask for a face-to-face interview or on Zoom. One of the cool things that we can do these days is we can hop online and do a Zoom interview with a prospective tenant. If you're looking to vet your characters or your pool of applicants, you want to make sure that you have choices and that you've met them either face-to-face or on Zoom, and that you have a good level of comfort with the people who are going to live in your unit. Last tip, without exception, if you're going to live in a client's unit, we've got to come up with first and last. And that is a lawful requirement, and that is part of the rules in the Ontario Landlord Tenant Board. You have a right to ask for the first month's rent, and you have the right to ask for a security deposit which does not exceed 1 month of rent, and that performs usually as the true last month of rent. You want to collect those things. I've had lots of people call me lately and say, I've got someone who can pay first but they can't pay last, and my answer to them is, you don't get to live in my place and you don't get to live in my client's place. Unfortunately, that is somewhat a predictive pattern of where they're going to end up in terms of paying your rent, guys. If they can't come up with the basic requirement of first and last month's rent, I think we just say next and we look for someone who can, so that without a shadow of a doubt things can perform with that ease of knowing you've got last month's rent in the bank. Also, if they default on payments, you've got to stay on top of the Landlord Tenant Board rules. They've got a great website, they've got a great phone line, always busy, always full, but they have good resources available to the public so that if someone happens to miss a month of rent, you can hop online, you can hop on their phone number and get some information about how to proceed. So stay on top of things, check your bank account and make sure your rent goes in and doesn't bounce out. All right, guys, good luck when you're securing a tenant. Look for the very, very best. I'll tell you, it's the best thing to have a great candidate living in my property and not have the headaches.